Hello, everyone. It is Friday, April 23rd, 2021, and this is The Inbox with Greg Nibbler. All right. Hello, everybody. Yes, thank you for joining us. Hit subscribe at 2Box Media, wherever you're watching, whenever you're watching. But we are back live. I know we had a few that weren't, but we are live now, which means we can take your comments as we go through the show. What I'm going to do is catch you up to date on some things that have been going on in technology, give you my opinions on it for a little bit, and I want to hear your opinions. So drop those in whatever platform. I'll try to answer those live here on the show. But let's get started right at the beginning of the week with a very tiny thing called Apple Spring Loaded. This was Apple's event. Anytime Apple has an event, it's a huge deal. They announced a ton of stuff. First off, I want to say the production value of it was probably the best that I have seen of any company. Normally, product unveilings and events like these, when they used to do them live back pre-times, would get really boring. This one was not. And here is why it wasn't. I've got three things that I think were the biggest releases from this. And I have to say the purple iPhone is apparently one of them. And I'll tell you why, because even today, this event happened on Tuesday, today, this was the #1 trending story in technology on Google. According to Google News, the fact that they came out with a purple iPhone 12. That's how big a deal this is. And that's what has been crazy to see people respond to that. And I think that's a big deal for a couple of reasons. One, I guess everybody wants purple. Two, just the fact that this shows the power of Apple. This isn't a new phone. This isn't a changing of anything. It's just, hey, we painted it purple. Here you go. And people are clamoring for it. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that want to get this. It's a neat looking color. Definitely a big thing from there, though, and just kind of an ancillary one that you would think be watched over. But no, this is a big story. So going from there, you also had a couple of other things that I think were the biggest announcements from this. The other one is Apple AirTags, which, again, wouldn't seem like it would be a huge deal. Here's what the AirTag is. If you know what Tile is, you know what AirTags are, basically. Samsung's got their own version. It's essentially something you can attach to your products, and when you're missing it, you can find it. It'll help you locate it, but that's where this thing differs just a little bit, because we're talking about Apple and using everything that they have, their infrastructure, their network. So these things, you can customize them. You can put emojis on them and names. They've got like little dangly things you can buy to put them in, all of that stuff. But what it really comes down to, the tech behind it, this is where Apple really has a leg up. And it's because of so many people using iPhones and using the Apple ecosystem. And it utilizes the Find My network. So if you have an iPhone, you know what this is, which means it ties into every other iPhone out there in the world that has that ability turned on. So you say lose something, you have it attached to your keys. You lose it in wherever. You lose it in a park. Well, anybody walking by with an iPhone, as long as they have that ability turned on as well, it will ping their iPhone using basically very low frequency waves so that it doesn't actually affect anything. And then it will notify you of where it's been located. So it's turning every iPhone into a locator beacon for your devices. That's why the AirTags, I think, are going to be a big deal. They're $29.99. I think you get 4 of them for $100, which is about along the same lines as Tile. So it's similar in price, but that's why Apple is going to take this over, because of everybody with the iPhones. I think it's going to be a huge thing for them. And, you know, for $29.99, it's not that expensive. So you got that. The other thing I wanted to bring up has to do with the iPad Pro, this new iPad Pro that came out. And there's a lot of people that have kind of mixed feelings on this, whether they love it or they wish it did more or think it's too much. So there's kind of a lot of variance in there. But regardless of what you think about it, it is an impressive machine. The iPad Pro, the top end one, this one has the mini LED screen. So it's a pretty amazing screen. It's got you can get it with up to 2 terabytes, of space. You can get it with, it comes with the M1 chip. You know, it's got all of the latest technology, except for the fact that it still runs iPad OS. It doesn't have the actual Mac OS on it. And that's about the only difference. Other than that, they showed it being used for everything, you know, attaching it to the keyboard. You're basically turning it into a Mac. So it's an impressive machine. Thunderbolt connection, all the bells and whistles you would expect, except for that software. So that's Pretty cool. I think those are the three biggest things. The Apple TV 4K for a lot of people is going to be a big as well. The fact that you can calibrate it with your phone, but a lot of stuff coming out from that. I wanted to get those out there. I know probably everybody's caught up with the Apple stuff, but this is why I thought those were the three biggest things. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Continuing on here with trending tech, here's one that happened actually just last night, in case you didn't hear about it. It has to do with SpaceX sending more people up to the International Space Station. Couple of firsts, like pretty much every SpaceX launch that you get with these. This one is sending the Crew-2, so it's another capsule going up, taking 4 astronauts. It's the same one that was used in the demo back when they did that. So it's reusing a capsule for the first time. It also reused a Falcon 9 rocket. So we reused that. And this is sending actual people up. Again, these aren't sending satellites up. So they reused the thing twice, sent these people up. We have 4 astronauts joining the International Space Station. So it's an impressive feat no matter how you look at it. Never let that feel too mundane, because that's a commercial venture taking people to space. That is pretty cool. So these 4 astronauts go up there, but there's a couple of things with it that I feel like people should know about. And I started looking into the International Space Station. I'm like, they're bringing 4 more up. How many people are up there right now? Well, that brings the total to 11 people in the International Space Station. Now, there's 4 more that are going to be leaving in a couple of days, but in the meantime, there's 11 astronauts up there. But there's only 7 beds. So I was trying to figure out, how do they work that out with only 7 pods for people to sleep in? 3 bathrooms, by the way. Only 7 pods. How do they figure that out? And essentially, they've got to clear space out on the ceiling, on the side, because you can use all that square footage, and people just kind of hunker down in a corner. And they're basically couch surfing in space. At least 4 of them are going to have to do that. So that's what's going on up there right now. So it's kind of interesting to think about how that works. Now, then I was wondering how much space is actually in the International Space Station. So it's roughly a little bit shorter than a football field, American football, a little bit shorter. So take off maybe the end zones. And I think that's about how long it is. The actual space that you can use in it is about the same as a 747. So it's configured different, obviously, but that's about how much cubic foot square space, I guess, cubic footage that you would have to use it. You got to think differently, because they can use all sides of it. So that's not a lot of space when you think of 11 people being in there, and the sights, sounds, and smells of space. I'm sure it gets a little crowded. I still want to go. So you can still send me up there. I am fine with that. I'm comfortable. I will sleep on the ceiling, but that is what's going on right now with this SpaceX launch. So it's a lot of people in there, and then 4 more are coming back down in a couple of days. So pay attention to that. That'll be coming up as well. All right, continuing on here with trending news. This one is an interesting use case of NFT. Now, we probably all know what NFTs are at this point, especially the fact that they're being used for digital artwork and everything that goes along with that. Well, this is now Playboy, who is getting into the NFT game, and honestly, it's pretty genius if people are willing to pay for these. So here's what they're going to be doing. They're opening up their archives for all of these classic images and things that they've done, all the interviews. You can see these, these Playboy covers here. They're going to be, some of these anyway, and probably eventually all of them. They've got thousands in their archive. They're going to be selling these, but not the entire thing, as NFTs, meaning you can buy a fractal of it. You can buy a little bit of it. You could buy maybe a little bit of the Marilyn Monroe Playboy cover, the digital version of it. Playboy, though, is going to hold on to a stake of it as well, and of course the originals and the copyrights. So when it does get sold down the line, they're still going to continue to make money. It's pretty smart when you look at NFTs and a company actually utilizing that for it. Now, granted, it's Playboy. There's going to be certain collectors that will probably pay whatever for that. So that's a little bit of an advantage that they have. This isn't, like finding it in a shed outside. This is actually, going to have a piece of the original one, at least in a digital aspect. Pretty interesting use case. I want to know what people think about that. Is that something you would buy into? I still don't know who is paying the hundreds of millions of dollars or tens of millions for all of this artwork. Clearly, maybe they're visionary. They think this is going to go somewhere where it's going to be worth more down the line, but that's what we're at right now. Playboy now in the NFT game. All right, one more thing here that I want to bring up to you, just in trending technology for our Friday show, because I think this is going to start spreading more places, and this is the beginning of that. So Amazon has had this technology called Amazon One. It's been out since, I believe, like October of last year is when they first started rolling it out in some of the Amazon Go stores, mainly in the Seattle area. And now it's going to be going to a Whole Foods in Seattle. And this is the idea of making a payment using your palm. So it's not scanning anything else. You don't have to pull out a card. You make a connection to your credit card or your Amazon Prime account one time. And then from then on, it scans all your biometrics from your palm, because the idea is that your palms are unique. This is something that that you can't fake with somebody else. They're not going to misidentify it. And that's how you pay. Couple of things with this. One, as most people should be concerned, that's a lot more data that now Amazon is going to have on you. They say it's secure, it's tied just to you, but I mean, they're slowly going to scan your entire body. Let's be honest. This is where this is kind of heading. Now, with that, the secure side, though, if there's keeping this data secure, that would keep people from, I guess, stealing your payment or using your identity in a way. The other thing, and here's where I look at it, and this is just on my personal level of why I'm okay with this. I don't like waiting in lines. When I go to the grocery store, I go to the self-checkout because I don't even like waiting there. I get really impatient, and I get really impatient with people who don't know how to self-checkout. So if this speeds that up in any way, shape, or form, I'm fine. They can scan everything if it gets me in and out faster, and I don't have to wait behind somebody who's fumbling to get their payment in and is confused about how a self-checkout works. So that's why I would be okay with it. I'm willing to give it up. I will use the palm reader just to go through faster. So that's something that's going to be happening again at Whole Foods in Seattle. That's the first one, which means they're going to be eventually rolling out to all the Whole Foods, and who knows if they license this technology to third parties. I would imagine if there's money to be made, they probably will. So expect that to happen. I would say within the next year, 2 years, you may start seeing these things showing up. Let us know what you think about that for palm reading. All right, so there we go. That's what we have here for Friday, back live here for the Inbox with Greg Nibbler. And I want to thank everybody for joining us, for being a part of the show. Whenever you're watching, hit subscribe, share the show, watch it wherever you are. Let other people know about it. Leave a comment, send us an email, info@twoboxmedia.com. Hit me up on Twitter, at Greg Nibbler. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And on behalf of myself, Jeff Serba, Mike Solis, appreciate you joining the show. We'll be back on Monday with another one. Thanks for watching The Inbox with Greg Nibbler. Have a great weekend.